So, welcome, Melody. Welcome to my We Speak Loud podcast. And I'm starting this podcast so that we can help each other find our voices and share our stories. And that is my mission. And I'm hoping to serve millions of people just to find our voices and also to share their story. So, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I'm so happy to be here.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, my name is Melody. I have a coaching practice under Coach Melody Joy, where I help people find their authentic voice and show up. I'm also a professional singer, so that's where I kind of got the inspiration.
That's awesome that we're both on the journey of helping people find their voices.
Yeah, like growing up, I was really shy. I would always wait for my mom to tell me what to say before saying it, because I never wanted to get in trouble. So for the longest time, I needed to figure out who I was. I needed to figure out what voices were my own versus what society wanted me to do or what my parents wanted me to do. And so that was a lot of the personal development and growth that I had to go through during college and afterwards as well.
Yeah, that's really awesome that you found your voice when you went to college. And I can totally relate to your story because that was just like me too. I always asked my mom for approval and to have her make the decisions because I was also like you, very shy. And I always hid. I'm not sure if you did this too, but I hid behind my mom's legs all the time. Whenever she told me to say hi to auntie or uncle, I always did that. I was very shy, but I always looked to her for making all decisions.
Yeah, I was exactly that way. Sometimes I find myself, especially if I'm overwhelmed, like if we're at my mom's friend's potluck party or something where it's mostly adults, I still struggle to find my own sometimes. Like I feel like I'm floating. Like I need to have somebody to remind me, okay, now we're doing this. Now we're saying this and talking to this person. So it's still a learning process sometimes.
Yeah, same here. Like when I'm hanging out with my family side or like with my mom's friends, I do the same thing too. I'm very quiet. It's kind of like it's hard to when you're like in a natural ability since you're young. It's kind of, I don't know about you, but it feels kind of, doesn't it feel kind of strange to interact with your mom's parents or even your family, to kind of even talk about yourself because it's just like that weird dynamic.
Yeah, it's almost like growing up, it was almost like we were our parents' pride and joy or something that they could compare to. And then eventually, after starting to go into the workforce and learning how to network, learning how to establish more relationships, that's when I found a little bit of different ways to help me carry on a conversation, not feel so awkward and anxious in social settings. I remember definitely it was in college, like my first internship or something, like when I wanted to break the ice with coworkers, like I had a running list of questions in my head where I would ask people like, oh, what are your hobbies or passions, or what are you currently excited about? And that's an opener that I learned can help other people open up and start talking about themselves, and then I didn't have to share so much about myself.
Yeah, like I was very closed off throughout most of my life. I barely said the very, very, very few words, and I just didn't like talking about myself. And um, like, was this your passion to start your coaching business right out of college, or when did you start your coaching business?
No, actually, I went to music school and I wanted to be a performer, a singer. And I, I do still sing and perform, but I feel like the impact that I could make from sh- sharing people the different tools and things that I've learned, like mindset shifts, could really help others who are like me, basically. Just um, helping my younger self, essentially.
When did you start your coaching business?
It's pretty new and ongoing. I started having this idea and this vision maybe 3 years ago. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and life coaches, and I didn't want to exactly conform to other people's models, but really just through my own experiences, share what has worked for me to help me overcome nervousness on stage, even singing on stage. There's a lot of stage fright that and anxiety that goes along with that, um, and also ways that, like, different tools and things, activities that helps me try to figure out who is the real Melody. How can I authentically show up and express myself all the time and stop being like a chameleon? Because growing up, ever since I could remember, I feel like I was always never like I never had a core group of friends. I always had multiple different groups of friends that I would just float in between, and um, I think that's just like how I coped, how I felt like I could be safe and find belonging without having people truly know who I am and then potentially rejecting me.
Yeah, yeah. I can relate to that too. Like I was kind of floating around. Like, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up too either. But it was just like I never want to be alone. So I hung out with people that weren't really my truly my friends, but because I didn't want to be alone, that I just wanted to, be with somebody. I didn't want to look like I was that loner. And so I just wanted to just hang out with people and just be kind of like in the background.
Yeah, it was like building a friendship based off of convenience
Yeah.
because you were in the same space and it was safer that way.
Yeah, it's just so interesting that like how you're sharing this. Like I'm pretty sure like millions and millions of people can also relate to that too, especially like in your grade school and high school, especially high school where it's like there's a lot of changes going on growing up, and then it's like you just want to try to fit in everywhere you go.
Exactly. I just wanted to um, put on a mask so that it was something that people could accept, right? It was still me. I think that I'm not changing my personality to just be liked. It's not that. It's still a version of me, but it's like very diluted. And that's what um, I felt was a pain point. Like growing up, I just felt very suppressed. I felt that nobody understood me, but I realized that part of it was because I wasn't letting people get to know me. I wasn't letting my guard down so that people could understand what's going on in my mind, the real Melody.
Yeah, that was the same with me. I think like recently I opened up my yearbook, and then every comment on there said, "I wish I got to know you better. I wish I got to know you better." And I was like, I wish I got to know myself better too back in high school, and I wish I showed more of myself that am now. And when people get to know me, I'm very I can be an introvert, but at the same time, I can also uh, be an extrovert when I get really comfortable with someone. Are you like that too?
Yeah, I'm like that too. I feel like I trained myself because of all of the different survival skills that I needed for high school and college, that I trained myself. How do I become a extroverted introvert? And so it was really cool when um, different articles came out about the idea of being both, like an ambivert, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I think whenever I tell my friends that I'm actually an introvert, people are like, no, I don't see that at all. But they don't realize it's because I just need time to decompress. I need time to myself to process what happened in different interactions in a social setting. And
Yeah.
then when I'm in a smaller group of friends that I really vibe with, then I can still get energy from that interaction. But it's because I know that I can trust them and they accept me.
Yeah, that's the same with me. Does it still show up when you go into like a new setting, like you're like networking, you're meeting new people? Do you tend to be a little quiet, or do you just are you still like introvert when you meet new people?
It definitely depends. I also blame my menstruation cycle because I do believe that cycle syncing is something that we can, like all women, should learn how to do to effectively show up as our best self, best version of ourselves, right? Um, so sometimes I can go out and like really want to be social. Other times I really have to mentally prepare. And um, when I show up, because I force myself to get uncomfortable, um, sometimes I don't know what to say. And so I identify one person that I think might be an introvert or might be somebody that I could relate to. And I try to get to know them the whole entire event. Maybe because it's like, how I justify that is it's a quality conversation and it's somebody that I will likely actually reconnect with versus like networking, speed networking and never talking to them again.
Yeah, like it's same for me as well. Like last night, I went to a film festival, like a small festival. It was like at the USC, University of Southern California, and it was just like it's just like sometimes like when people are talking and they're already in a conversation, I kind of like back out a little bit and I get a little nervous. And then also because I not that I have hearing problems, but I also have hard time picking up words, especially in a noisy setting. And so I just kind of tune out. Like I just don't want to talk because if they're saying something to me and the the sound is bouncing on the walls and it's echoing, I can't hear. And so I tend to like just stay more quiet in that type of setting. And it's sometimes like you said, it does show up sometimes on certain situations. I have to also mentally prepare myself to be in that situation. And sometimes when I'm in that situation, I'm just like I get anxious. I don't want to talk until I get comfortable.
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm curious, what do you tell yourself that helps you when you're feeling anxious in a social environment to put yourself out there and to start up a conversation, even though you really just want to hide in the bathroom?
Well, one thing, I used to be a VP of marketing for a student organization in school. And one thing that the mentor told us was, find shy people, gather around and just say hi to one another, because sometimes like when you're shy and when you're in a situation where you're with a group of people, like you're networking, and you see these people are shy, just band it with the shy people and just have a conversation. Because when you're talking to someone who's super extrovert, sometimes what happens is that they overpower the conversation. And
Yeah.
when you band with like people who are just like you, who are shy, who just wants to engage in a smaller group and smaller conversations, it makes it easier for you to get your um speak and get your message across too.
Right. That's a good point. I'm also, that just made me think of a question. Do do you think, or what are your parents, do you think? Like, are they extrovert or are they introvert?
Oh, they're extrovert. For sure, they're very extrovert. They talk very loud. I'm not sure about your parents, but my mom and dad, they speak really loud. About your
Wow.
parents?
So I grew up with my mom. She was a single parent raising me for most of my life, and recently she got married. So, but she is a big extrovert personality, very type A, very loud, and um, just very fun and bubbly to be around. So, because of that, I found that I was her opposite.
That's very interesting. Like my parents are extroverts, but me and my brother are like super introverts.
Hmm.
So this is kind of interesting.
Yeah, maybe that's something you could like ask your other guests on your
Yeah.
podcast to see if is that a pattern? Is that correlated? Or is
Yeah.
it like mimicry? Are we copying our parents to be like them, you know?
Yeah, that's very interesting to, do some research on that too.
Hmm.
So, how would you describe your mom?
I mean, I just did. She's when she walks into the room, all eyes on her. Like, she's very um a big personality, very loud, very loving and giving and compassionate. Um, but she also was very protective of me as almost like a tiger parent growing up. So that's why I always valued her opinion, valued her approval, um, wanted to make her proud.
Yeah, I was the same way as well. And I always wanted to make my mom proud too. And I always wanted to get her approval on everything, because I guess because like when like what you mentioned earlier about uh how you wanted want her to make this decisions for you. And I'm the same way as well. Like I always wanted her to make decisions for me as well. And because if I make a choice, then I feel like she would just like, no, that's not good, or no, you should do this, no, you should do that. And so
Yes.
how do I even decide what I want?
Yes, totally. Like, my mom, I remember all the time, my mom will tell me for me to make a decision, right? Give me the power to make the decision. But then after I make it, then she changes the decision to the obvious, in quotes, obvious correct choice, right? And so then I kind of formulated a decision from that interaction that there's no point in me stating my opinion, because then she's going to do what she wants anyway, and it's kind of like a redundant, almost like a waste of time, because we have to backtrack and do every like start over from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, I am the same way as well. And it's like, why even try when you say I like blue, and then she tries to alter your decision, like, oh, you should like pink, and because you're a girl. And so it's like at some point, like you just want to like, I give up.
Yeah, it's just easier for them to just make the decision then, right? Then you don't have to rack your brain and try to people please them into that decision or vice versa, etc.
Let me ask you, does she still make the decision for you?
um no, I over my journey of personal development and like inner work, I learned how to communicate better with her on what my boundaries are, what I would like, and how I want our relationship to go. And I know that I actually feel very fortunate for to be able to do that because I know that some people are still struggling, like they're grown up but they're still struggling with that with their parents. But oh yeah, I think that my my mom, what she's done is she's also done a lot of inner work as well. So we're both growing at different at different times, but we try to we try to honor each other and respect each other for our growth and our journey. And so, yes, my mom still has some tendencies where she'll be like, wait, no, take that, don't wear that jacket, like put on a dress, you know? Um, and and sometimes I will want to not feel like I'm confronting any conflict, and try to people please her. But what's right, what I'm practicing is being able to say, thank you for your opinion. This is what I really feel like doing and wearing, or, you know, this is my decision. And kind of just let it be that. Like, be okay with disappointing them.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, my mom still tries to make the decision for myself. And it's great that you're able to have this conversation with your mom so that you guys can set some boundaries and really get related to one another, and what both sides want in the relationship. And that's so important. And like, I'm glad you're able to do that with your mom.
It's a constant work in progress. Some days are better than others. Some days it feels like I'm back in middle school again. Um, but if we love ourselves, if we value our own voice, we have to practice speaking up, because it's our life. We need to be empowered to take control of that, and be okay with disappointing our parents or elders or people that we care about. Because as long as we take full responsibility of the consequences, that's on us.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned about speaking up. No, we all know the importance about speaking up, but how has that affected your childhood or adulthood when you weren't able to speak up?
Hmm, that's a good question. I think when I was not able to speak up for myself, I was really unhappy and developed more resentment and passive aggressiveness. And um, people who noticed that, people around me would not know what's really truly going on, but assume that maybe it's just attitude, maybe it's just growing pains. Um, but the sooner that we can learn how to try to dig deep and try to figure out and pinpoint what is the root cause of what's going on with our feelings, our negative feelings of being sad, being upset, isolating ourselves, and actually reach out, ask for help, communicate, the better. Because then that's when relationships heal. That's when people can, respect your boundaries. Like, how can they possibly respect a boundary if they don't know it exists? So I think that it's important to do the work.
Yeah. I I agree with what you just said. I am also passive aggressive myself too, and a lot of times, people don't know like where this is coming from. This quiet, shy girl, all of a sudden she lashes out of nowhere, and then people are just get a little. I don't know about you, but people get scared of me. Like all of a sudden, like like someone that's quiet and then roars like a lion all of a sudden.
Hmm. I'm not sure. Maybe that has happened and maybe I wasn't aware of it. But I do recognize it within myself where there will be moments where the energy has built up and I need to have an outlet where I can express my negative feelings, whether it's anger, whether it's just frustration, or so I can definitely relate to it on that point.
Is that how you turn to music? It's like because the music is very creative. Do you feel like music is how you can express yourself too?
Yeah, absolutely. Music has always been my best friend throughout my upbringing. Um, if like I use it as a way of feeling what I need to feel to let it out, because I've found that it's important for us to actually feel all of the emotions, everything that's happening to us. And sometimes that can be really overwhelming, but we have to realize that it's almost like detoxing. Like once it passes through our body, our system, and it can get out of our system, then we feel better, right? And so music, because there's such a wide array of emotions that can be expressed through music, so that's been a great outlet for me. Yeah, I was just talking about this on my last post, because right now I launched a sing to express yourself kind of challenge, where for the month of December I'm going to sing something that makes me feel a certain type of way and talk about it on my social media as a uncomfortable challenge, in a way for me to just put myself out there and share a piece of my soul. But one of the things that I talked about was how when I had crushes on people, like growing up, I was always the person that had crushes on people and never really told them, and just kept it as a one-sided love, one-sided crush. And I don't know why. I think part of it was just the assumption that I'm not good enough, the assumption that who could possibly want to love me, And my subliminal messaging would be song lyrics or sending them my favorite song at the moment that reminded me of them. So
really
Yeah.
amazing that you turn to music to express yourself and you're starting this singing challenge for yourself just to put yourself out there. Um that's really a big accomplishment for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if anyone is needing a change in a shift in their patterns, like their day-to-day routine, doing something that they can commit to. Like over the pandemic, some of my friends did like, we're going to do 25 push-ups every single day. Just like something that you're committed to, something that is different than your daily routine can help you learn more about yourself, learn more about like how to put yourself out there. And it's kind of like just building up a muscle, right? I believe that speaking up is a muscle.
Yeah, it is. It's like a training tool.
Mhm. So you just have to keep exposing yourself to it and keep doing it. And eventually it becomes easier, much easier.
Yeah, especially for me, like I always had a fear of talking, especially on stages, anywhere, like even on like in Zoom. I was just like over the last year, like because of the pandemic, I got more used to be on Zoom, be on camera. But before I was like, I don't like cameras. I don't like be on the phone, and I don't like talking in general. And one thing that was a struggle for me, and you probably heard it, I stutter because I stutter when I get nervous. But I also grew up with a speech impairment as well, and that's like been in the back of my mind that I'm trying to also overcome is to just practice more speaking. And for me, I cannot sing, so kudos for you that you can sing. I cannot sing for any, like I'm just like not a singer, but I like to turn my expression into writing.
Mm.
And so I'm writing a couple of screenplays just to express myself, express like things I like inside, and then just to like show people like how I can turn my emotions into something that's great. And I see that you also turn your writing, your music into something that you can also create um, to the world to see too.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that everybody needs some kind of creative outlet or some hobby that's just for themselves. Not because here, like, I feel like at least my upbringing or Asian culture, like, we productivity and overachieving has been such a heavy um, emphasis on our lives, right? Like everything that we do has to accumulate into some kind of productive thing that generates success. Like that became part of my identity. That for a little point in time, I pretty much quit singing because I was like, what's the point? It's not going to get me anywhere. I'm not going to be famous and successful from singing. So what's the point of singing? Um, which I now know is wrong for me because it's such a great self-expression tool. It's such a great way of just putting myself out there and doing something that I love and can be really happy doing. And yeah, so I love that you are writing screenplays and expressing yourself in that way.
Yeah, thank you. And you too as well. So how long did it take you to start speaking up and just sharing your story?
Hmm. I think that's also a good question. I think that I didn't start fully expressing myself until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Like I already had my social media, right? I had Instagram, I had Facebook and Snapchat, and the only issue though was that I was posting things to get people to like me. And I had a subconscious belief that just being myself was not good enough. And so I think during the pandemic was when I had to do some reflection and think about what I valued, what were my priorities, and for a while I kind of took a break from posting anything because by then it wasn't a success metric. It wasn't like part of my identity to keep posting so that I could get likes and eventually become Instagram famous, you know? So now I'm trying to stay true to my voice and be authentic and share experiences and stories that can help benefit others, but also can help me try to figure out what I have experienced, right? It's almost like a way of processing.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And being our true selves and being authentic is what attracts people too, because you're really authentic, and people can relate to when people are being really authentic. And finding your voice, finding your true voice is very, very important.
Yeah, and I think the intention behind everything that you do really helps. Like, if you have priorities and intentions behind each action.
Yeah.
Because, in the past, it was like, I just want to be famous and eventually get money and be sponsored and, right? And now I'm just like, if what I put out there can just spark joy and share light with one person and help them, then I've done my job.
Yeah, that's really amazing. It's like we don't have to be liked by the whole entire world, and we have to be liked by the people that we're actually transforming and really just supporting them, and then it makes them feel really empowered, and that's really important. I was the same like you. Like, I want to be an actress. I want to do acting. I want to be, because I was like, if I'm an actress, then everyone, the whole world will like me. And so that's why I was like, I wanted to become, and then I was like, no, I don't think I want to do that. What I want to do is inspire people, and that's why I'm starting this podcast, to have people find their voices and also inspire them to be able to feel comfortable, being on this podcast and sharing their story, and then sharing with millions of people, so that we are all just alike, and that we can all be able to find our voices and speak up.
I love that. I really resonate with your mission and the work that you're doing. So thank you for showing up.
Yeah, thank you. Do you have any last thing you want to mention or say?
Let me think about it 1 second. I feel like we talked about a lot of really valuable things during this interview and session. But I guess the key takeaways would be like, first and foremost, take radical responsibility for yourself, because when you understand yourself, your boundaries, then you can communicate it to your loved ones, and trust that your loved ones do want the best for you. They might have a funny way of showing it sometimes, but they have their own baggage, their own experiences that limit what they can see. So I think that's a main takeaway for this conversation. And if there's anything that I can support or be of service to, like, please don't hesitate to reach out and send me a message. I love being able to listen and support people and give any creative suggestions on how people can own up to their voice and show up and eventually be the bright light that they're supposed to be in this world. Because I do believe that everybody has a superpower, and this superpower sometimes gets hidden. So until we actually do the inner work, personal development, growth of peeling back all the different layers to our truth, to our core, like, it's, yeah, a lot of people will be suffering in silence until then.
Yeah, that's really awesome what you mentioned about everyone has a superpower, and it's really up to us to figure out like what's the best for us, and also just put stuff out there and just go for it, and because we all are able to accomplish something. We just have to do something uncomfortable to be comfortable.
Yes, 100%.
Well, I want to thank you for being in this podcast and sharing your story, and also how could the listeners find you on Instagram? Like, can you tell us our Instagram handle again?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at I'm Melody Joy. It's IMMELODYJOY.
Perfect.
And I also offer free 30-minute sessions for anybody who just wants somebody to listen, hold space, and I'm happy to be that for them.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
To tune in to more episodes, please go to anchor.fm/We Speak Loud. And also follow me on Instagram at South Growth Sandy. Bye!